May peace be with you all, and may Jehovah bless and protect each one of you always, God and his faithful representatives. God, Jehovah. In the narrative of the plague of frogs, Jehovah stands as the primary actor, whose immense power is directly manifested over all of creation. He initiates this plague, not from mere caprice, but as a profound expression of his divine authority, serving as both a powerful instrument of teaching and a just judgment upon the land of Egypt. The plague of frogs clearly demonstrates that no Egyptian deity can stand against his divine will, emphasizing Yahweh's supreme sovereignty over all of nature and over all human kingdoms. His powerful action not only impacts the Pharaoh and his subjects, but it also profoundly strengthens the faith of the people of Israel, vividly showing that God's divine protection and guidance are truly tangible and absolutely decisive during their moments of severe oppression. The narrative emphasizes that Yahweh acts with purpose. Every plague is a message, and each display of power reveals that the natural order can be subordinated to divine authority when his will is fulfilled. Moses is the mediator between God and Pharaoh, the spokesman for the divine will. His role extends far beyond that of a simple messenger, negotiating with firmness and prudence, obeying Yahweh and ensuring the message is effectively fulfilled. In the episode concerning the frogs, he receives precise instructions from God and communicates them to the Pharaoh, showing patience in the face of obstinacy and firmness in his mission. Furthermore, he coordinates the exact moment when they should pray for the frogs to withdraw, demonstrating that human action, guided by obedience and faith, can collaborate with the divine order without contradicting it. Moses embodies the wise mediation between the supreme authority and humanity, teaching that true leadership requires discernment and respect for God's will. Aaron acts as the physical instrument of divine will. By extending his staff over the waters of the Nile, he brings forth the plague of frogs, demonstrating that human actions, when they are guided by God, truly become powerful vehicles of his divine might. His role is demonstrative and operative, materializing divine instruction, reinforcing Moses' authority and legitimizing Yahweh's message before Pharaoh and all of Egypt. Aaron's participation underscores that divine leadership can manifest through human collaborators and that every action guided by God contributes to fulfilling his ultimate purpose of justice and liberation. Collectively, Jehovah, Moses, and Aaron constitute a trio where the divine element, the mediating role, and the executing force are interwoven. Each plays an essential role. God commands and determines, Moses communicates and negotiates, and Aaron executes. The narrative demonstrates the cooperation between celestial authority and human action, highlighting the centrality of obedience, faith, and the tangible manifestation of Yahweh's power. Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is the representative of human power in opposition to divine authority. In the account of the plague of frogs, his initial attitude is one of stubborn resistance. He refuses to free the people of Israel, relying on his own power and the Egyptian gods, who, according to the narrative of the Tanakh, proved to be utterly powerless before the command of Jehovah. When the plague invades Egypt, the Pharaoh experiences the immediate and undeniable effect of divine will. Frogs cover their homes, fields, and all the utensils of daily life, causing great discomfort and chaos. This suffering compels him to request that the frogs be removed, showing a first sign of humility and acknowledging the immense power of Yahweh. However, following the plague's disappearance, his heart hardens once again, resuming its initial obstinacy. This specific pattern clearly reflects a recurring theme found throughout the plagues. The human difficulty of completely submitting to divine authority, the resistance in the face of the evidence of God's power, and the constant tension between earthly will and heavenly sovereignty. The Egyptian people. The Egyptian people and the servants are the immediate victims of the plague. Frogs don't just affect the surface of Egyptian life. They invade their homes, the ovens where they cook, the beds where they rest, and their very workspaces, profoundly altering their daily routine. Their suffering clearly demonstrates the direct consequence of the Pharaoh's stubborn obstinacy. Even though not everyone participates in the decision to resist Yahweh, everyone feels the effect of divine punishment. The narrative emphasizes that human actions can have collective repercussions and that the disobedience and arrogance of leaders impact society as a whole. Through these experiences, history clearly demonstrates that God's divine justice is both effective and undeniably palpable, impacting not only those in positions of power and authority, but also the entire fabric of society when His sacred will is openly challenged. Collectively, the Pharaoh and the Egyptian people represent the full spectrum of human reaction to the overwhelming force of divine power. The combination of resistance, fear, discomfort, and eventual partial recognition of Yahweh's authority. The interaction between the plague and the Egyptians illustrates how the actions of a stubborn leader can impact the entire community and how the divine plan manifests through visible events that teach lessons of obedience and justice. The sorcerers and magicians of Egypt. The magicians and sorcerers of ancient Egypt played a truly crucial role in the narrative of the plague of frogs, for they symbolize the intricate interplay between human ability, mystical magic, and ultimate divine authority. According to the biblical account, when Aaron extended his staff over the waters of the Nile, causing the invasion of frogs, the magicians attempted to imitate this miracle through their own enchantments. They partially reproduced the initial effect, demonstrating some knowledge and power over natural forces from their cultural perspective. However, their action is limited. They cannot control the plague's magnitude or reverse its effects, and in fact, their intervention often worsens the situation. This dramatically demonstrates the impotence of human magic before the will of God, highlighting that the extraordinary and the true can only stem from divine authority. The role of the sorcerers also holds a profound symbolic meaning. They symbolize the rivalry between the divine power of God and the magical arts of ancient Egypt, which were held in high regard as highly sophisticated and utterly dependable by the Egyptian populace. The utter failure of the magicians to subdue the plague of frogs clearly demonstrates that magic, no matter how advanced or potent it might appear, is fundamentally devoid of the profound moral and spiritual strength that truly emanates from Yahweh. This competition clearly highlights the fundamental difference between human and divine actions. While God acts with clear purpose, perfect justice, and absolute authority, Egyptian magic merely offers a superficial imitation, possessing no true power or enduring effect. Furthermore, the narrative vividly illustrates how the magicians embody the steadfast resistance of both the Pharaoh and the entire Egyptian elite against the supreme sovereignty of Yahweh. They desperately try to control what lies beyond their comprehension, striving to substitute divine power with their limited human knowledge, yet their ultimate failure unequivocally demonstrates that any endeavor to rival God's omnipotence is utterly futile. The magicians, though they performed their enchantments, ultimately reinforced the central theological lesson: God's authority over creation, over history, and over the Egyptian idols is absolute. The plague of frogs, therefore, not only serves as a judgment upon Egypt, but also as a demonstration that true strength comes solely from obedience and connection with the divine will. Together, the magicians and sorcerers of Egypt fulfill a dual role. They demonstrate the limits of human power and of magic before Jehovah, and symbolically underscore the rivalry among the natural, the ritual, and the divine. Their failure reinforces the story's central lesson. Jehovah's sovereignty cannot be challenged, and divine authority is clearly, visibly, and morally significant, even through the plague of frogs that seemingly only impacts daily life. Symbolic Egyptian deities. The plague of frogs can be interpreted not merely as a natural or miraculous event, but rather as a direct judgment against the Egyptian deities associated with fertility and life. Heqet, the frog-headed goddess, stands out as one of the most representative figures within this particular context. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Heqet was closely associated with fertility, the sacred act of childbirth, and the vital protection of new life. The symbolism of frogs was deeply rooted in ancient Egyptian culture, so the overwhelming abundance of them during the plague could be interpreted as a complete inversion of their usual influence. What was meant to represent blessing and fertility instead became a source of chaos, invasion, and sheer nuisance. The narrative of the Tanakh makes it evident that the forces the Egyptians worshipped could not counteract the will of Yahweh, making it clear that even the sacred symbols of life and creation were subject to divine authority. In conclusion, the plague of frogs can be interpreted as a twofold message, a judgment upon the Egyptians and their many deities, and a powerful demonstration that life itself, all fertility, and the natural order are truly dependent upon God, not on the symbolic entities created by man. The story reinforces that obedience and faith in Yahweh surpass any cultural belief or practice, even those deeply rooted in Egyptian society. Interpreters and commentators. The plague of frogs is analyzed from both the historical and biblical accounts as well as through the reflections of commentators and scholars who delve into its theological and symbolic meaning. According to David Guzik, the plague was a deliberate mockery directed at the Egyptian gods and a clear act of divine judgment. Guzik and others point out that the repeated intervention of Yahweh, along with the failed attempts of the Egyptian magicians, clearly emphasizes the powerlessness of their idols and the absolute supremacy of God. The plague is not merely a natural phenomenon. Its purpose is both pedagogical and theological, demonstrating that control over nature and history rests in the Creator's hands, not in rituals, enchantments, or human deities. For the commentators, each plague represents a clear message. The Egyptian gods cannot protect their people against the will of God, and all resistance based on idolatry is destined for failure. Modern theological studies view the plague as a display of Jehovah's sovereignty over creation and his authority over idols. The frog invasion disrupts daily life, causes discomfort, and shows that God's will remains firm, demonstrating a power that transcends all human and cultural understanding.